Welcome everyone to this coaching clinic at the Under 22 European Championships here in Jurmala. I'm happy so many showed up. I'm also very happy that CEV asked me to give you this small talk today. The topic you can see here, scouting at an international level and what coaches can learn from it. My name is Martin Plessl. If you want to stay in contact, I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. If you have any questions later that you now don't think of, you can always contact me there. So it's easy. What can you expect today? I will start with some general information about scouting. What is scouting and what is just watching a game, because there's a little difference. Then I will talk about the system that we set up in Austria. Some years ago, the Austrian Federation came to me and asked me if I can help with the qualification to the 2012 Olympics. And I worked in indoor before and did some scouting for the national team there. And they asked me if I could help with beach volleyball, because obviously they have seen some nations like Netherlands and Russia, they did this before. And so I started, and we developed a system that worked for us, and I will talk a little bit about this. If this is not something that you can use for yourself, I will also talk about some alternatives that you might use even if you have a low budget. And I will try to give you some tips, tricks that we found out when we use video, how we use the data, that might help you as a coach, even if you don't have the full system in your background. And last but not least, I'm not only a scout, I have also a team that I coach. It's Ermakora Pristouts. They are now playing in Tokyo. They played underage last year in Baden, took a 3rd place there. And the switch from being a coach to being a scout gave me a new perspective of the game. And I think that I profited as a coach, because now I've learned some things that I may have not known before. And maybe this is something that is also interesting to you as a coach. So this is what you can expect. If you have any questions in between, feel free to ask. You can come up with everything. I will try to answer anything. Overview. Scouting, what does it mean? Scouting, what everyone can do, even if you don't own a laptop because it's too much hassle in the sand. What can you do with pen and paper? I'm sure some of you have a good system already developed and you're using some system. Video, then of course what we do, alternatives, and then we will try to look into something that I did here with video. But before I start talking too much, I also want to involve you a little bit. And I have a question for you. And the thing is, I want to know what you as coaches do. Here at the underage, you can really coach. At the adult level, you cannot do that. But mostly, we see pictures something like this, even at the court or somewhere around. And I would like to know who of you is taking some form of notes. Who is taking some notes? Wave your hand. Clear signal. Counter check. Who is taking no notes at all? No notes at all. That doesn't add up to 100%. Guys, you need to declare yourself. Hand up, clearly up, so everyone can see who is taking no notes at all. No notes at all.
During the game?
During the game. During the game. No notes at all. 1. Who is taking notes?
I work with the Scout national team.
You have somebody?
Yes, I work
okay.
with the volleyball.
Well, perfect. If you take notes, who is taking directions, hitting directions? Who is taking that down? Or who wants to use it at least? I can see you're still afraid. I'm on the camera. No one sees you in the camera. You don't need to be afraid. Who is taking down reception qualities? No one? No reception qualities. OK. Who is tracking score? So I know some coaches, they track score. They know I'm up 1, 2, 3, then I lost 1, 2. Does this somebody too? 1. Who is taking notes more or less freely, but notes highlights when your team missed a great opportunity to score a point, or you had a lead of 11-7 and then suddenly you're down 12-11. Who is taking notes of highlights? Somebody? Not many note takers in here. It's all right. Do you want to know something of your game after the match? Probably you want to know. What do you want to know? What is interesting to you after a game? Now you need to talk to me a little bit.
Counterattacks.
Counterattacks, how many you had and how many you made, more or less? Okay. Thank you for participating. Errors in all areas, like service, attack. Also the good ones, or only the errors?
Only the errors.
Only the errors? Ah,
Reception.
reception? Quality? Also like where or just?
Quality and where.
Okay. Something else?
Service.
Serve? Quality or directions? Quality. So you know afterwards how many aces you made and how many errors you made? Okay. Something else?
Side-out percentage.
You have that? So you take notes and you know after the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Something else? I have some suggestions. For us, when I have a team, I do want to know how many side-outs we make. So that means I have to track how many receptions we make, and then how many attacks can we make out of this reception. And then, of course, how many points do we make out of these attacks. So this is one. For me, very, very important statistics is first ball side-out. First ball side-out means it's the first try. So we receive, we set, and we try to put it away. And this is a number that I'm very interested in. Do you have any idea what's that on an international level? What might it be? I will tell you. Good teams can manage to make 60, 65, sometimes even 70 or more %. So that's quite a high number. We have still won games. For example, I work for Dopplerhorst, Vice World Champion last year. We have still won games with around 50% first ball side-out percentage. Below that, it's very tough to win. So this is something where I know where I need to stand. We also want to know how many break points we make, how many blocks. Service is very interesting for us. We have a team that is very dependent on serve, so we try to track that. And then there are some other things that I'm interested in, things that are not hard facts, like more soft things, like change in momentum. There is a time, you make points, you're ahead, and then suddenly you're still ahead, but it doesn't go as smoothly as before. Opponent figured out something, and maybe the difference in point stays the same. So change of momentum is also something that we try to figure out. And of course, maybe some emotional things or in team chemistry between the two players. These are things that we cannot do with the data in a computer, but which some coaches track. So depending on what you want, there are different methods of how to get the data. One is free observation. That means I go to the game and I watch. And whatever catches my eye, I use that. So I might see some certain pattern in a hitting motion of an attacker, and I might make a mental note, or I might write it down. Mental notes are nice, but the problem is we have many players, and if you have a very good capacity of memory, then it's fine. I would still suggest to write it down somewhere. But as you can see, a free observation, there is no definition. So you just look at it and check it out. Taking notes is just optional. And it's more impressions. So you try to figure out what's going on. And it's not real observing. So it's no problem if you talk to another coach. You just do it. And then, you find out something else. This is more or less free observation. This is very valuable to get some impressions of the game. And it's different than the things that we do with scouting. Then, for example, there is a free scouting. So there are some things that you really actually watch. And you take notes and write it down. But still, you give room to impressions and observations that are on a more general level. So I might do, for example, only take notes about the reception and the attack and the first attack. And the rest of the rally, I just watch the players, how they interact with each other. So this gives me a lot of time to still have a feel for the game. And as a last part, it's systematic scouting. This is different than the other two categories. We have exactly defined parameters, so there is exactly defined categories what we want to watch and how we will rate the techniques and everything. Everything is systematically written down. It's not me that came up with these ideas. There's a guy who is a sports scientist. His name is Lames, and he did that already many, many years ago. So what I do as a scout and what Menzo is doing as a scout for Netherlands is more in this area, systematic scouting. We don't just go there and see what is there, but we have a clear set of rules that we follow to scout a match. And I will tell you today a little bit of how this system of rules works. Well, the easiest way to do this is by paper and pen. The picture you saw before was Jörg Ammann, German's coach. He has a very sophisticated layout of a paper where he takes down directions, receptions. He changed the direction if the team switch because the wind is going from the other side then, so he's accounting for that. He's also counting blocks and defenses, so it's very sophisticated. If you do this, it's really necessary to focus and concentrate. This is not easily done. So you need to do this, and the free observation is gone. So it's not possible to talk to some parent on the tribune or something. Easier, so this is really in this part, directions. Very easily done is a points and error list. You just have a category, serve, and then you write down serve attempts, errors, aces. Attacks, attempts, aces. This already gives you good information about how is my team doing. Because many times, although you have a good performance, the result is not the same that you want to like. So maybe you have a good performance, but a bad result. On another day, you might have a bad performance, but still a good result, meaning you win the game. But to develop the progress of your team, it's important to know where you are. So you want to keep improving the percentage of good receptions. You want to keep improving the attacks that you score in the side out. You want to keep improving the setting. For example, you can also track, do I use overhand set or do I use bump set? Things like that you can track very easily with lists. Some players, some coaches also use a list with scoring. And then for every point, they make a small note. So then it's 1-1, good reception, we missed an opportunity to score. 1-2, da-da-da-da-da, and they write it down. Directions, you just draw a court and go with the hitting directions. It's quite easy. Or you just write down what you see. Make notes. These are things that usually a coach can do while he is watching the game. For many coaches, I think it's also steadying their nerves because they sit and, hopefully he's doing this well, so better be busy so then you're focused on taking notes and not so hard on your player. What we do is something different. We use a computer and we do it electronically, everything. The way I work in Austria is we use data volley, data video, or as it now is called data volley 4. But there are other options. For example, Brazilian team works with Dartfish. The Germans have a system programmed by their own. So this is this. Any questions so far?
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
You have a statistic for the crucial moment when the game is tied, like 18-18?
You can do this. So I can say, for example, I want to just see from a certain position on. So I can say, I want to show me all attacks. Or I can say, show me all attacks counting from 16. So this is possible, sure.
The behaviors of the player, the crucial moments, they are not changing a lot, I think. They're doing their best.
It depends. The problem, it really depends on the level. So
Underage, I'm talking about underage.
Underage, they usually cannot change their pattern so much. So with underage, to shoot with a lot of statistics on underage is probably using too big weapon. I did some scouting here now because I was here 3 days early, so I did some scouting. And if I watch the pool play, then most of the time, if you have seen one set, you can, not for the best teams, you can see certain patterns of hitting and of receiving, and you don't need much statistics. So here it's easy. But when you go to the top, and players make not many mistakes, so they play a very good level. But then there are some 2, 3, 4 situations that they cannot handle so good, and you need to find out what that is. Might be if he approaches from the middle and the ball comes from behind him and he has to turn, then he maybe is not so good to the ball and makes a mistake. And this is then the point that you need to make. So, because if the reception is perfect, set is perfect, most of the good players have many options. They can hit cross court, they can hit line and have at least 1 or 2 shots that are very hard to defend. So you need to find the weak spot. How can I put the guy in a situation that he doesn't like? This is the point. And the lower the level, the less you need this, of course. So, yeah. So the next day, the next thing is I would take you through the day of a scout a little bit. So the typical day of a scout starts, I don't know, quite early in the morning with the first game. And one main part of our job is video production. So we put up cameras on all the courts, and then make sure that everything is in a good view. And then, of course, we do enter of data in data volley. So this can be either done live. Sometimes you have to. It's a little bit light here, but here they put up a card because he could not see over the advertisement. So he put up a card there and did the scouting here. And we enter the data, and we usually do this live. I prefer live because I have a better view of depth. But if it's not available, I can also do it from the video. So we have then clearly defined situations, and we try to be objective and do this in a standardized way. I will tell you later more about this. Yeah, and usually this takes the whole day until the last day, the last game of the day, and then we go home, and the day is not done. Then starts the office part. Because we produce a lot of videos and a lot of data, we have a large database, and it's important that nothing gets lost, and you can find the things that you need again. So what I suggest is to use standardized names for all the films and the videos, because otherwise you will not you cannot make sure that you find the videos that you need again. And even if you mess up a little bit with the names, you might have problems. If you write, like a colleague of mine, it's Gravierer, and then he puts an R in, and it's Gravierer, and you will never find this again if you just look in the Explorer. Why is this important for us to have a clear data structure? We have more than 1,500 videos in a season, and that is just for the men. So this is quite a database, and yeah. Then analysis. We can do this within data volley and data video, but I also do something in Excel. I program some worksheets where the data of data volley gets exported, and then we work with Excel. And if that is done, then starts the interpretation. Of course, this is part of the job of the coach, but the thing is, not all the coaches can interpret data. So usually they need somebody who helps them a little bit. And so this is then usually in the small hours. So, okay, now here are some things where I think you can also take something away. First, positioning of the camera. Obviously, the camera position behind the court is most popular, as you can see here, 17 cameras in a row. Because it's sometimes funny how the cameras are set up and how many there are. I took the liberty of taking pictures of these, and I call this World Tour Camera Craze, and I put an album on Facebook. And whenever I see either many cameras or in funny situations, I will put some photos there. Of course, this position is ideal to see how the block is moving. If the receiver is receiving on his left side or on his right side, I can see arm swing and everything. So this is very much preferred. But sometimes we also take video from the side just to see how good is the set. Does it get off the net or too close to the net? Is the blocker penetrating the net or not? So this you cannot see so good from this position. You need to go from the side. Now here you see a very good picture of a camera, because you can see all 4 corners. The level is not too high, so you're not up like you see only the heads, and you're not too low, so you see only the feet. There is nothing in the way, so this is a perfect position for a camera. And this is something that when I see coaches doing films, I think there is sometimes room for improvement. If somebody asks me after some game, or they give me some video, and then they ask me, okay, can you do a small scouting of this? And he gives me something like this, I say, I'm happy to do this, it's easy. Also with this, here the corner is already cut, so if the server comes from here, maybe it's difficult, but other than that, it's perfect. Even they put the names here, and I can follow the score, so I have some correction if I do it with a video. But sometimes coaches come up with a video like this, and then it's already a little bit hard. It's nice, we can see the development of the sky and the clouds, but the problem is I don't have a baseline. I have an obstacle here, so I cannot see very well. It's also very difficult now to see the depth. So if the serve is short, or if the reception is too close to the net or off the net, it's hard to see. So this is a position that I would not recommend. Sure, if it's the only video of the team that I have, I need to take it, no problem. But if I need to scout this, it's very tough for me. This is also something that a coach brought to me. It's very difficult again, because here you see the position is very low. So here's one baseline, and here is the other baseline. So again, to see the depth of the court is very difficult. Another obstacle here, so we can see only part of the court. Plus, we have this nice net, which makes me crazy when I scout. So, if you invest 1 or 2 minutes in a good positioning of the camera, I think this is a good idea. It's 1 or 2 minutes that you might struggle a little bit more, but you have a much better view afterwards and much more fun with the video if you watch it or if you show it to your players. I don't know if you use it also to show to your players, but we also show it to the players. Yeah, there are positions where I just can't see anything. So, tips that everyone can use: invest in a good tripod. This is also something that I find interesting sometimes. Of course, your tripod can break down, or your clamp can get broken, and then you have to have a very steady hand. I don't have a steady hand, so you will never see me sit with a camera. Invest in a good tripod. Last tournament in Espino, an American guy came to me and had one of these nice clamps that never work, with a very mobile parts. And then he asked for some tape, and of course you can fix everything with tape. Tape is wonderful, the MacGyver stuff. But I think it makes more sense to invest once in a good clamp or a good tripod than in 100 rolls of tape. So here again, even if you have a good tripod, make sure it's tall enough, because as this guy of Estonia, the problem is that his tripod is a little bit too small, so he cannot see over the advertisement. So he tried with these little sand hills to get a better view of the court. I like the inventiveness, for sure, but again, go with a good tripod. So, I hope I don't hurt anyone and not somebody finds himself on the picture. After we have done the videos, we compress the videos. Many of the cameras make super large files. Usually it has 4 GB if I come up with 1 hour of video, something like this. This is okay, but it's just too big. The problem of the big file size is not that the storage is expensive. You could store it easy. It's not much cost nowadays. But the problem with it is that if a team comes to me and they need the file copied, then 1 gig or lower takes 3 minutes, and 4 might take 8 or 9 minutes. So if I copy 1 team, then it's not so much of a problem. If I copy to 3 coaches and 4 other players, then it's 1 hour and 10 minutes instead of 20 minutes. So this sums up, and this is why I compress the video. Good thing, Format Factory makes the job, and it's free, it doesn't cost anything, and the file size afterward is around half a gig till 1 gig. This is also something I recommend to everyone. Some cameras, they make a lot of parts. If I go with a GoPro, all 10 minutes I have a cut, so then I have 7 or 6 or 5 or I don't know how many parts. If I have that, I join the video. I do this kind of work. So 2 parts is acceptable for me. If it's 3 or more, I join it. There's also a program for this. It's AVS Remaker. It's not free. There might be options that are free, but this one works really fine. I can recommend it at least. Speaking of speed of copying, it's also smart to have fast USB sticks. Sometimes players come to me, they have a very nice thing that they just got from the sponsor, and it says A1 because it's the telecom sponsor, and it's of course not super fast but super cheap because it's just a giveaway. And then they come to me, and then you can really see how long it takes. And if you have a fast USB 3.0 stick, then it takes 1/10 of the time. So here again is good to invest a little bit in a fast USB stick and a fast SD card because it makes things faster. So now we have single video files, and they are compressed. Afterwards, we try to name them. I have a system, and I recommend a clear data structure. Different nations have different systems for sure. What I like to have is H. This means Herren, which in German is man. I put a D for Damen, which is women. Year, month, day, place of the tournament, and then the 4 names of the players that play together. And if it's an underage, I might do something like this, under 22, so that I can separate underage from the normal files that I have. I know of the German scout. He has a similar system, but he adds the match number in the tournament, and he adds the nation. So to make it easier to find what you need. Whatever you do, make sure you have a clear structure, because you might need to find the video files again. If you have only 5 a year, it's not a big deal. But if you have a couple of hundreds or thousands, it is. And it's a waste of time first to produce the video and then to compress it and do everything and then never find it. So naming is good. And naming is especially important. You might think now, OK, now I have 3 days of tournament. Evening is nicer. I go for a beer now. But the problem is, in 1 week, you might not know who played in this game. And now you need to find out. And for example, if I'm on World Tour, for me it's easy because I know most of the players. If I come here to underage, there are many teams that I see once or twice a year. So in 1 week, I have no idea who is playing. And then you need to go and check, can you read on the shirts which nation played, or can you make sure at the time and find out? So I try to do that quite fast. And last part, make backups. I make backups many times. After every tournament week, I try to make a backup because it's obvious if you lose the data, in the end it costs a lot. It costs the travel cost, the time, and so on and so on. I keep close to myself the last 4 years, and I have a hard disk with all the games of the last 2 years always with me. Normally, I have 2 hard disks. So one goes in my backpack and one goes in the check-in luggage. So if one gets lost, I have still some rest. And afterwards, you have to watch the video. If you don't have a scouting system like we have with Data Volley, I recommend a VLC player to you. Why? Because it's one of the players where you can skip some time. I see many people watch video with Movie Maker or something like this. And if I use VLC player, number 1, it's free again. If I press Shift and left right, I jump 3 seconds. If I press Alt and left right, it jumps 10 seconds. And if I hit Control and left right, it jumps 1 minute. So it makes it easy to just watch the actual game, and you can easily skip a timeout or a medical timeout or any time of delay. You can just use that. I do not know if it also works on a MacBook. I'm not so familiar with that part, but on Windows it works really, really fine. OK, so this was the part about video production. Now let's look about actual scouting. Cheers. Here we have some pictures first of scouts at work. So here at the underage, I saw only me with the laptop, but usually it looks more like this. So 4 or 5 guys sitting around and trying to find the best spot. And if it's raining, then of course we have a problem, but you need nice colleagues. So these are German colleagues. They were nice enough to cover me. Now, what is running on those laptops? There are different options. As I just said, we are using Data Volley, but this is not the only thing you need to go. There is Dartfish. There is Germany has their own program software. Also, Brazil has their own program software. Here was also a guy from Beach Data who has something that is working on a tablet. So there are other options, but I can only tell you about Data Volley, why we use it and how we use it. Many other nations are using it too. Netherlands is using it, Russia is using it, USA, Canada, Poland, Turkey, obviously Belarus. What are the pros and cons of it? On the pro side, in indoor volleyball and in club volleyball, this is very widespread. Everyone knows this, and many teams are using it. And if you play Champions League or German League, you're even you need to provide Data Volley data. So it is possible to exchange data, and many times a federation has a license for this software. In Austria, this was the reason why we went with Data Volley, because from our indoor program, we had a Data Volley license, and so we started with this. And it has really many options to enter data. So there is really a lot to track. So if you have this, it's nice. On the con side, on the disadvantages, until you can use it, it takes some time till you learn it. It's not like, okay, let's start and go. It takes some time. It is, in general, I would not say very user-friendly. The interface was maybe developed in 1980 something, and it hasn't changed much, to be honest. Another thing is that, for my feeling, I can enter a lot of data, but the analysis is limited. This is also why I tried to export some of the data into Excel and work from there. So this could be better, in my opinion. And the last point is it's not very beach specific. It started as an indoor program, and you can see this. Now the Data Volley 4 has some changes made, which include the beach side more, but it's not perfectly included. So, but it is there. But there is, at the option, when you start the program, you can choose between indoor and beach. So then it's only 2 players, and it works fine. I will show you later. OK, so how does it work? In principle, every player and every single touch with the ball can be entered in this software. So to do that, we use many short key features. So this means all the techniques that we have a shortcut. So we use an S for service, an R for reception. The for set is already taken, so that's why it's the E for set. A for attack, B for block, D for dig, and an F for free ball. So all these techniques are taken down. So basically, a Data Volley code always starts with a number. This is the number of the player who performs a certain technique. Then goes the technique. Then can be more detailed to that technique. So for example, you can say it's a jump serve, or it's a jump float serve, or it's an attack that is a hard hit, or attack that is a shot, or then whatever. So you can choose a little bit more. And then you need to rate the quality of the technique. And the whole rating scale is in 6 parts. We use only 5. It's enough, in my opinion. So we have the hashtag, which we read as a double plus. This always means it's a point. So if you make an attack and the attack ends with the hashtag, then you scored a point. If it's not a point-scoring technique, like a set or a reception, it means it's perfect. Quality was perfect. So a perfect reception, a perfect set, or a perfect free ball. The normal plus means as an attack, it had an effect. So for example, you attack the ball, and the opponent could not control that ball, so you get a free ball back. That would mean that your attack was a good one with effect. The reception would be not as good, but still good. Set the same. It's a good set, but not a perfect set. Then there is the minus. This means without effect. So if you attack with a minus, That means your opponent could dig the ball, can set the ball, and also can swing. So if sometimes, of course, it's not as clear. Sometimes you think, aha, okay, so there was a defense, there was a set, but this set was so difficult so that it's almost not an option, so then might still be somewhere here.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
If I hit the ball out, but defender took the out ball, so what is this?
Then it's still the attack is minus. Even more problematic is, let's say that the attacker hit the ball and would have scored, but the referee says the ball was out. Then you have to say that the ball was out, although you can see clearly the ball mark is in. So there are, of course, there are some problematic aspects, as always. But in the long run, it doesn't matter. So we are looking at numbers of a couple of games, and if there is one or two wrong, even if you get it once wrong in between there, it doesn't matter. Slash means you got stuff blocked.
What about one more in the net?
Same thing, same thing. If the guy attacks out, the thing is, data volley works that way that if I use this symbol for attack or this, it gives a point. So if I use this, it gives the point to the attacker. And if I use this, it gives the point to the opponent. So if he hits out, but the blocker was into the net, I would have to take this symbol for the attack, and then I would still go with the blocker touching the net, which is technically correct because the blocker touched the net before the ball was out. So technically, the out attack did not happen because the first mistake was the touch of the net. Yeah, slash if you get stuff blocked, or if you take the reception over the net. And this we read as double minus, which is always a mistake, no matter which technique. So now we have the technique, we have rated it. Then we also look where on the court is happening the action. Because it's an indoor software, it starts with an indoor system. So the positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they are the normal positions that we also use on an indoor court. Plus, because this is not accurate enough, because it would not make a square, we have 7, 8, and 9. You can even specify further, so you can take A, B, C, and D. So this is quite precise. So 2A is this square. 9D is this little square. 8A is this little square. So wherever you are, if you hit, if you receive, if you serve, you put the position of the ball. So this means, because again, indoor, 9 times 9 meters. So this would be perfect because then it's 3, 3, 3. Outdoor, it's a little different, but still, this is very precise. Huh? It's 1.3 meters, so you know exactly where to hit. Yeah, this is how it actually looks like if you enter the data. This symbol is one team or the other team. That is a number. This is the shirt number. That's the skill, so this is the technique. This is a specifier of the technique. So as I said, it can be a hard hit or not so hard hit, can be a jump serve or something different. Quality. And then this is advanced code. This is, for example, this is an attack and this is a combination. So this means if it's an attack, we say, is it on the left side of the court, in the left half, in the middle, right half, or right side of the court? So that I can later on say, from the left side he hits this, but if he comes from the middle, he makes different directions. Yeah, here we can specify hard spike, soft spike, tip. We use this, or I use it as a hard spike, as a quick shot going down, as a slow shot moving up first and then going down. 0 to 4 we can use for the block. So we use this no block, block line, block cross court, things like this. So now I'll give you some examples. This is the code that I would enter. So here it says 1 SQ1 dot 2 double plus 1 CR. This means player 1 serves, jump serve is a Q, and he serves from position 1. The dot means that the other team is receiving, other team's player 2 is receiving. Reception is perfect. And the position where he receives the ball is 1C. And the R means he's taking this ball on his right side. For the side of the reception, we have center line, we have left, we have right, we have low, and we would have overhead, which is in beach volleyball not so interesting, but indoor, of course, it's interesting because you can use your hands to receive the ball. Okay? Second code, A2. If a code starts with A, this is always the away team or the opponent team. So A2 means opponent number 2. X4, now this is something that needs to be defined. So the attacks is something that is not given by the program, but you define it. So we have X1 till X5. X1 is the part left antenna. Then X2, X3 is the middle of the court. X4 and X5 would be the right side of the antenna, close to the antenna. So X4 is the half right court. So the guy attacks half right. T is for a shot. It's not a hard hit, then it would be H. It's T, shot. Point means after an attack, the next action is a block. So number 2 is blocking. Double plus means he makes the point with the block. 1 means here the block was line.
I use it when you set player makes set. You
yes.
write every time?
I personally don't write it every time. I write it inside out. So I will show you now a little bit of live typing so that you get an impression. But we do reception and set. The set out of transition, I put only if it's bad. So for example, if it's a good situation, but the set is bad, and this has an influence on the attack, then I write that the set is bad. But after, of course, and if it's a mistake. But a normal set I would not take down. Yeah, you can define it. As I said, we use the X1 till X5. So I can show you this a little bit. If these are the antennas, then I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this here sets in this area is X1. Here is X2, X3, X4, X5. What we also do is some teams on the national level, they make quick sets, like shoots. So then it would not be X, I would use it as a P. P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. Here, because it's very windy, many teams go around and cross. Then I would use C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. What we also have in beach volleyball is second hits. So this would be also an extra code. Can be set, for example.
What about the behavior of the blocker?
For block, I have 1 for a block line and 2 for a block cross court and 0 if he pulls back. This is what we use.
You don't use anything about the way he blocks?
If it's a shot block, you mean, or if he jumps to the line?
Yeah.
Jump to the line, we use, then if he jumps to the line, we use 3. If he jumps to cross court, it's 4. You could also, but the thing is you're limited to some things. So if you want, for example, then to have a spread block, you would say, okay, I don't care if it jumps to the line. In the end is line, so you can use 1 for line, 2 for cross court, and 3 for a spread, for example. So, yeah, here we are that it's not a beach-specific software. It's from indoor. Indoor, you would say, okay, it's 1-person block, 2-person block, 3-person block. Although sometimes on beach we also see a 2-person block, but we don't use it that way. Doesn't make so much sense. Now, try to read. What would you think? I know this is fast, but what would that mean? What do you think?
Jump service, position 1.
Yep.
Mistake.
Yep.
Mistake, 6th position, sector D. Oh, it's overhead.
And over. It's out. No, it's right. So this would mean not our own team, but the other team, player 1 served. Q was a jump serve. From position 1 was a mistake, 6D. If you remember, 6 was the zone in the middle. D was the part closer to position 5. and it was out. It could also be that it's in the net, then would be an N, for example. Somebody else, because you're familiar with data volley? Who would want to try this one? What could that mean? Serve. What does the T mean? T, I did not explain it. T is a jump float for us. So this is a float serve from which position? Okay. How was the reception? Perfect. Anyone remembers where position 7 was?
In middle. In middle, it's center.
More or less in middle, more on the left side or more on the right side? This is the position 5 player or the position 1 player? More closer. So it's like the normal position of the left side player is maybe 5B, and this is maybe a step up, might be 7A, or maybe he's even standing in 7A, depends. But this would mean he is almost at his perfect reception position. He hadn't had to move much. And M means he was receiving midline, so he didn't have to reach to the left or to the right. Of course, there is always some space. Like this is midline, but this for me is also midline for me. Midline starts for me if he's remains between his two legs, and it's midline. If he has to reach out of his leg, then for me it's left or right. Now here we have the set, for example. Player A1 makes a set. It's a perfect set. He's standing on position 3D.
He stays position 3, yes?
3, yeah. And was an overhand set. Of course, because the reception was perfect, it's very likely that he is in a position close to position 3. Because we want the reception more or less to the middle or a little bit on one side. Now we have an attack again. What can you tell me about the attack? Player 2. X2. X2 means he's attacking from this zone. So not from the middle, not from the left antenna, but half left court. The attack was not successful, so he got defended. And where did the guy defend? At 1B. So is this line or cross court? This is line, exactly, because 1 on the other side, if he's on the left side and he plays to position 1, it's a long line. 2 means the blocker was blocking 2, so he had the line open. But the P means it was not a hard hit, it was a quick shot. So a shot that goes down. So now then we have the other guy. He defended. Here you can see now it's not A, but it's an asterisk. So the other guy, number 2, is defending the ball. Of course, on the same position as the ball went. And the same guy that defended the ball attacked through the middle. He killed the ball. Here we don't have a direction. Why? Because I could not see the direction. Because blocker was blocking 4, so that means the blocker was somehow jumping like this. And the S means that the attacker just hit the side of the blocker. So I could not be sure where this attack would go. So I do not enter a direction. I leave it open. And just he makes the blow. I will give you one more example, and then I will show you also this. So again, we have one ST6. That means what? Now we already know what kind of service was it. It was a jump float from position 6. How was the reception? Good, but not perfect. Where did the receiver has to move? Did he have to move to the middle or to the sideline? 50-50 chance. 7D is at the sideline. So he had to make a step to the left. But we can say, because he received midline, that he took the step. He did not use this, but he took a step and passed like this. I can see it just like there. The reception was not perfect. Still, the set came from position 3B. Now 3B is quite close to the net. So this might mean that the reception was a little bit too fast or too close to the net, and therefore not perfectly to set. So that might be the reason. Because otherwise 3B you could think, it's zone 3, it should be a perfect pass. But obviously it was too fast. So also the set was not good because it's not perfect, it's only good. But still, the guy managed to score a point. Again, we don't know the direction. So this is why I put the part of matrix here, because once you manage, you don't see the matrix anymore, but you see the real game. I don't know if you see the movie. So I don't see these numbers. I know what happened. I see a game. When I see this, I know what happened. So that you also know what happened, I will show you now the video of these couple of... OK. So once I've entered all the data, this is how it could look like. That's why I said come forward, because it's even too small if you sit first row. This is from today's game, France versus England. And here on the right side, I have all the codes that, due to the resolution of the beamer, you cannot see now. But here, this was the first code. So A1 SQ double minus from S to 60. And here's the serve that goes. So maybe it's not 6D. I saw that wrong. This should be 1D. So here you can see that I did not check this, and it was wrong. The next point was we had a perfect reception on 7A. Whoops. Moving. So this is 7A. Go play. Perfect, huh? 3D. Should be 3C instead. Quick shot. Defense on 1B. Just off the block. The other was too long. So I tell you, I took this one. That was a little bit shorter. Here you can see why it was not a perfect reception, but only a good reception. The receiver has to struggle not to touch the net. Still, he manages to score the point. So now you try to write down what I show you. So you take your pen and paper, and I'll show you one ball or two. And because you cannot read what's on the screen, I'm safe that you need to try on your own. Huh? We start with an easy one. Ready? So this was player one. This I tell you because he's behind, and I play it again for you.
SQ 1-1. I 2 minus.
The guy on the other side, so this is player number 1, and this is player number 2. This you cannot see here, so I tell you. So you need somewhere you need the number of the player who's serving, that's number 1. Somewhere you need to have the S, because it's a serve. Then you need to have the Q for the jump serve, which is a quick serve. Yeah.
It's already written there.
It's already written, you could read. But second row, that's why I told everyone to come to first row. But it's only part. It's only one part. If this is how it comes out. If I enter it, I enter 1 SQ1 dot. Then comes the other player. That's player number 2, and he gets a double minus. So Data Volley does something for us. If I enter the quality of the reception, it gives me the quality of the serve. So if the reception is a double minus, so it's a mistake, so automatically the server gets a point. So I don't need to write that. So I give only the receiver a double minus. And now we can discuss if this is 9A or 1B. It's tough to tell from the video. That's why I like live. There I see it better. It was 9A or 1B. But this would be the right thing.
Will you use it only like direction line and zone?
You can. But I like, I know. Indoor I also use the, yeah. But for beach, the length, especially with shots, is very important. This is like T. It's like tip, yeah. P, if the ball goes down, it's P. If there is a blocker and it's a small player and the block it goes like this, it's also T. Because in the end, if he plays like this or like this, to me it doesn't matter. It matters that the speed of the ball. If the ball goes up first, it's different than if the ball goes down first. And if it plays like this or like this, I don't care so much. If he plays down, for me it's P. If he plays up, it's T. Menzo maybe has a different opinion.
It can be different because it's up to the coach what he wants
Yeah.
to.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Because my coach wants the P for maybe 70% hit, so it's power, or 70% for the shot.
Yeah.
So that's
Makes also sense. But it's quite similar because if it's down, yeah. So this, for example, if it's a player that could also be maybe an attack, the one that we saw before. If it's almost full power, not all the players have the same power. Try one more, huh? The guy who is serving is number one. I tell you so far so much. Where? Now this is difficult because he's standing. We didn't have that. So for standing, we have I use the H. Q is for quick, T is for tense, H for high. So high, easy serve. This can also be done differently. I just tell you. So this is from which position to which position? What would you say? 9? A, B, C, D. 9A, B, C, D. So probably 9D. If it's perfect, here it looks perfect. Let's see how the reception develops. Why is it so slow when I put it on the screen? It's perfect. So this is a hashtag in this case. And it was center line, so I would put the M, yeah, because it was in front of him. He didn't need to reach out. Setting, I'd say 3A. Probably perfect.
But it might be not X4, it might be X5.
This, I would also say, is X5. Yeah. But life is fast and I did not correct. To 1C, 1B, somewhere like this. And he scored a point. Defender gets a minus. If a guy touches the ball, I enter that touch. So because that means the defender had a chance to touch the ball. So I not only give a point to the attacker, I also say defense minus for the other guy. Okay. Something else. Now I can show you a little bit of this. Do you see this? Yes. So for example, this is how I work now with my team in Tokyo and China. So I cannot see them play, but I can download some videos from them. And this is how data volley actually looks. So here you have a court. You have the two players. In this case, it's Walkenhorst and Winter. And here on the other side, it's Ermakora and Priestouts. And then the main thing is this small little window where you can enter some text. Hopefully. I like this. And it already says A2. This means that the guy on the other side will serve soon. So this is this one. And what I do then looks like this. I start the video, and then I start typing, hopefully. Plus 1B. Der wäre da hingegangen, 1BS. So. Plus 3DO. Schwupps. And then we get a point. And then guy number one is serving. Because this is the beginning of the set, I don't have this now.
How do you stop the matches in the court when you have to finish?
Hmm?
When you watch it live, how do you?
I don't. I'm on time. Still, it's time enough. But this is how the process looks like. You just sit and type. And at the beginning, when I started, you don't enter all the details. When you start doing this, you start just taking the numbers and just enter serve and reception and maybe attack. But you don't go with which type of serve. You just go with serve. You don't take the position. You just type serve. And it already helps you. I can show you something. When I type, this thing here produces a time code. So whenever I hit a button, the time of that button is recorded. And even if I would just hit for the serve and connect that with the video afterwards, I could already watch afterwards just serve by serve if I'm on time with the hit of the button on S for serve. So already, although the statistical information is value 0 because I made too many errors, I can already watch the video. And now, the thing with the video, as you have just seen before, for example, if I go here, I make something like new analysis, and I say, OK, I want to see guy number 1 and show me all the serves. And then I see all the serves from this one guy. And I watch the video in a very fast way. While the match might have taken 1 hour, I watch the game in 7, 8 minutes. And this is when the magic starts. So now you have seen only the hard part, but this is my part. But for the coach, it's very convenient because I give him now this package. He gets the video and the data file, and he says, OK, I want to watch all the serves or all the receptions, or all the receptions on right side if I enter that part, all the receptions on left side, all bad receptions, all attacks from zone X1, all attacks from zone X3, and so on. So this is a very fast way of watching, and also a very convenient way of seeing patterns. Because if I watch the video with some normal media player, I might see one reception on the left side at the beginning of the set. Then I see 10 different receptions. Then I see the next reception on the left side. So I may be not remembering that on the left side, the first reception was bad. But here I say, show me all the left side receptions. And I say, OK, it's only 5 in this match, but 4 of them are bad. Maybe a good idea to serve him on this left side. So then it's when it starts to get convenient. So you put a lot of hours in before, but once you have all the data, then you can get somewhere. So let's see. You have this? Yes, you have this. But we need to switch to this mode again. Need to switch from one to the other. Hope you get this one. No? Almost. This is something that needs to be fixed with PowerPoint. Because I cannot get this view where I can see something different than you. So we were already there. And we have been something like around here. OK. So now you have seen a little bit of this data entry that I've done. I will also give you some of the problems that we face. Number 1, partly the rating is subjective. So if you say this is a perfect reception or it's a good reception, sometimes it really depends. For example, if you know the team of Australia, they play many times on 2. So if you make a pass for on 2, obviously the target zone is somewhere different than if you make the pass for setting. So, but if you make a perfect reception for an attack on 2, but your partner is sleeping and is not getting ready for that attack on 2, and then struggles to go and set, you might have made a perfect reception for what you wanted, but still the reception what he wanted to have is not the same. So then what do? Was it a perfect reception but a bad set or a bad attack because he did the wrong thing? Or was it just a good or even a bad reception? So these things, there is room for some subjective meaning. Some categories, for example, are not clearly defined. I told you before you can have reception left, right, and low. But what happens if it's left and low? You have to decide for one of the two. sometimes you have distorted perception. We sit on one side of the court, so things on my side of the court seem a lot closer and longer than things on the other side. So this might not always be correct. But the thing is, if it's always done in the same way, and it's always consistent within the system. That's the thing. Sometimes the position of the ball and the position of a player might be different. For example, if the ball, let me show you this other thing in the overview again. For example, if the ball comes from the other side and lands in zone A1, it's an ace in A1. But if the guy receives the ball, he will cut the way of the ball, obviously, and the reception might happen on 1B. Because he's not taking it here before the floor, but he's receiving it here. Huh? So there are also things that, so you have to decide for one of these. But then again, it doesn't matter so much in the overall thing in the end. But these are things that you have to think about. Sometimes it's just very fast. Game is going very fast, especially if both teams decide to play on second touch. Defense, second touch, defense, second touch, defense, second touch. Can get a little bit fast for scouting. You will get faster with that, but still sometimes it's quite fast. And of course, long rallies. I prefer scouting men's games by far over women's games. It's not watching, but men's games, 90% is serve, error. Serve, reception, attack, scored. And this is different. So if you ask me, if you're scouting in women's games, you should get paid more. But, but then again, limits of scouting in general. Yeah, there are biases in different persons. So if you have a team of scouts, so we had different scouts, then you need to make sure that it's consistent, that you have the same data from different persons. So you should check that, because different persons might take different views. So if you have, for example, a reception then that is low and right, you need to decide if you enter that as low or right. You need to decide so that at least for your team it's consistent. Same thing. Items that don't fit into the categories. Also, limits of this system that we use here is you follow the ball and the structure of the game, but you lose maybe the feel of the game. Sometimes I scout the game, then the coach comes to me and says, okay, what happened in the game? And I was so focused on following the ball and the touches of the ball that I missed some other aspects. You don't see many defenders if they do a fake, or things that happen between the ball touches are sometimes hard to see. So this is some downsides of the scouting. I would do some game analysis now. So tell you something now. I told you about the production of the data, and now I would tell you something about how to use that data. I would show it in two examples. One is a little bit of reception, one is a little bit on attack, and you can get some examples and some things. What do we want to know about reception? What do you want to know about reception? I would want to know weak sides. For me, the first thing is who is the weaker receiver, for example. That's a basic question. Then I would want to know if I can serve different types of serves. I would want to know if he's weaker against jump serve, or if he's weaker against float serve, or if you are Mr. Carambolo, if he's weak against skyball. Which side of receiver? Also interesting to me is, for example, if a receiver does not like if the ball is parallel to his vision or if he's crossing his vision. This makes a difference to me. So if he's serving from on my right side, but from this side and does not cross my vision, it's different than if it does cross my vision. So this is also something I would want to know. And then, of course, I need to know what is the goal of my serve. There might be serves that I go for to make an ace. And this might be a different type of serve than a serve where I know the reception might not be really bad, but it's a tactical serve. For example, if I want the guy to receive from a certain position, I might serve him to a certain position. So I might do a serve that not creates an ace, but that creates a tactical decision. So here you have all the points. So who is weaker, what type of service, which side, which position to which position, and what's the goal. So and what do we do? We check distributions, frequency distributions. We check efficiency. We calculate point scoring probability. Because the thing is, sometimes you might get a bad reception, but you might still not make the point. So do you want to create a situation where you get a bad reception, or do you want to create a situation where you can score a point? I like graphs a lot more than I like numbers, because it's easier understandable for players and coaches. And I like heat maps. And whatever I find out statistically, I do want to watch the video. So only numbers, to me, is not enough. So let's see what I have done. I will do this now in a different way. So we put this away. Close. Save for sure. It does not let you save if you're still doing something. Yes, please do something, whatever. So let's find the game. Grimald against Tizian Tommaso. So then you can here, for example, look at all the skills, reception of the home team. Then you get numbers. I'm not sure if I can make that a little bit larger. I cannot. So this is the limits of the software. So anyway, here it's 2 players, Grimald. And here, for example, I see reception against quick, so jump serves, and here I see against jump float serves. Categories, perfect receptions, good receptions, bad receptions, really bad receptions. So we see the whole team didn't get aced many times, 1 ace. Not many perfect receptions from player number 1, only 1, but he got served only 5 times. So here I cannot decide much. So what do? If I want to, I need more matches. And this is also an advantage of data volley against paper and pen. Paper and pen, I have 1 piece of paper. And if I want to combine more games, difficult. Here, I can just choose. So if I click on Grimald and look at him, then I can get a whole number. And I can also choose, for example, you see here, I wrote down wind, because this means this is a game of wind. Game with wind is different than game with rain. Game with rain is different than a normal game, because the ball is wet or the wind is there. So now I can choose more games to get more numbers. And maybe, okay, blah, blah. Now I get more numbers. Okay, and then I can already see something. So now here I cannot see now left or right. I can just see the type of serve that we have. I will show you more. Now this is something different. So if I do statistics, as I said, I put all the numbers then out of data volley, put them into Excel. And in Excel I have a macro, and this macro puts together some report. So this is a report for Alice and Bruno. I feel free to talk about Alice and Bruno because they do not exist anymore as a team. And we will come to this later when we go to attack. But here, for example, here we have Alison. And now we have receptions. N is the number. This I can make bigger. Do you see? Or so N is the number. F is reception efficiency. PWS is point scoring probability, but in German. So these are the interesting numbers. So for example, Alison, point scoring probability on his left side, 63%. Midline, 70%. Right side, 67%. But low, only 46%. So I do want to get him into the sand if I serve that guy. here, this doesn't matter so much. Left side is a little bit weaker than right side on center line. This is clear. If you have seen Alisson, he likes to receive the ball here. He doesn't reach so much, but still it's okay. But low is really, really low. So once he is down in the sand and has to get up and then attack, you have a good chance of scoring the point. So this means I want to serve short against him. If you have seen the last games now where he played with Andre, many teams served him short. Then, of course, you need to serve him long again to get, again, the space you need. If you serve him short all the time, it's easy. Yeah.
What about his line shot when he fell down?
This is something different. Now, this is just the reception.
I'm just curious about, do you have this? Okay.
We can check. We can check.
Lower than
Can be. Can be. So this is only, for me, this is a process in more steps. So I look at the reception before, and then I can check on video, for example, show me all the receptions where Alisson was low. Now I don't have the video of Alisson anymore, but I will show you here with a different video how you can do this. We go to analysis. We go to new. Here you can enter what you want to see. I want to see now, I don't care which player, but what I do want to see is here you can say low. Okay, and now show me all low receptions. And then we see all the guys receiving low balls. The problem is different resolutions on different screens. This makes it harder for me. So now we put that back in. And now we see all receptions where the guy is receiving low. And now I could say, okay, show me all the attacks after he received the ball in a low fashion. Okay?
But his approach is wrong. Maybe that's why he cannot side out.
Can be. Can be. This is something so we do data, we do video, and then we do. But if I serve another team, I don't care why. I just want to know if it's my own player. So this is also different. So I use the data and the statistics and the video for my own team, and I use it for the opponent. If I use it for the opponent, I just want to exploit the weaknesses. If I use it for my own team, I want to work on this. So if I see, this is bad technique then, okay, maybe next winter we want to change and work on that to improve that in the next season. So this is different use of the data. Okay, so this is something we have here. Here it's in a different. Here it's just graphics in a different way. So how is he doing against different types of serves, and how is the point scoring probability after this? It's just playing around with graphs. You have to choose then as a coach. You tell, okay, I would like to have it this way or that way or this way or that way. But as you said, I would always need to check with the video. Just with that, I'm not happy. I need to know what happens. Joop. Attack, same thing. We want to know who's the weaker attacker. If there is a certain attack preferred direction, preferred type of attack. Also interesting is if arm swing I will not see here. Arm swing is not entered. Arm swing again is something technical. I can check on video. So also approach, if he is approaching inside out, outside in, or parallel, or whatever. So this is something I need to check with the video. Also interesting is directions that are not there. So for example, there are many directions, but for example, no cut shot. Helps me a lot. If I don't need to run for the cut shot, fine. Huh? Same thing. We check frequency distributions, we check graphics, we check heat maps, and I show you a little bit again from this file that we have here. So Zuspielart is not so interesting. This is more interesting. So Alisson, for example. Alisson, in first attack, he hits 83% is with a hard hit. Only 16% is a shot. So this is something that is obvious. Still, if it's a player that you don't know so well like Alisson, it's an interesting information. If a player is hitting more than half, it's a different position maybe for your block and defender than if he's hitting most of the time hard or if he's shotting a lot. Then we can check hitting directions. So this, on the first look, looks quite difficult to see.
From antenna is good, huh?
From antenna is good. We also see from different position, different percentages. So from here, he attacks 61% scores. From here, also good, 67. From the middle, he gets only two balls, but it's only 50%. But it doesn't matter so much. Still, Alisson hitting hard, hitting hard, hitting hard. So, but now it's a good time to check video. When is this one coming? When is this one coming? When is this one coming? Because just this with Alisson is difficult. You know it's only hard hits, shots not there. So you don't need to go for shots, but you need to check video here.
One question.
Sure.
These lines
Mm-hmm.
on the schedule, you have them, are they also in data volley?
This is all data volley. Yeah.
You can see that in there, but it's
Yes.
okay.
What I do is I export all the data of data volley, do some extra calculations, and put that into a Word document. This is what I do. But the graph here is like original. Like if I switch to this, here we are in data volley. Where is my mouse? Gone, there. And I go directions chart. I choose directions, and I get it. This is the directions, for example, of today. No, it's of Grimald. So Grimald, it's a bit easier. Huh? It's very much here, not so much in this part, especially from this position. Here, okay. And also something that is not here. So here, position 6, I don't need to take so much. So as a blocker, I can choose line or cross court. I don't need to take position 6. Some players, and then it gets more interesting with the video. For some players, they have a good pattern. They play a line attack or a cross court attack. But if it doesn't work, after timeout, they hit position 6. Many players do this because they know after the timeout, the blocker will go either this way or this way. But if I just hit position 6, it's free. So, and this you cannot see from the graph. Or you need to take certain graphs and need to say, OK, show me only from point 16 on. It's possible. Also interesting is show me only, there will not be many games. But for example, if I modify this here, and I can do a code filter, and I say, please show me where the reception before is bad. This should be previous. So let's see what happens. Not much, not many bad receptions, but you get the idea. If I have maybe after bad reception, something different comes, or something does not come at all. Here, for example, is interesting to me. After bad reception, no shots, just hits, but it's only 3. It's not a statistically significant number as you know. Yeah, again, I check with the video. Especially with the approach, it's very important. Approach is very important. And then I check correlations. As the colleague in first row said, OK, maybe after short serve, maybe happens something with the shot. Position of reception, position of attack. Some people, if they receive in the middle of the court, they always go cross court. I want to know these things. I can find these out. This is not difficult. Once the data is entered, it's rather easy. So I try to figure out, do these graphs, put them together into one report, and then I go with that to the coach. And how we use that is I go with the videos and the diagrams and the document to a coach. And the coach then decides what goes to the player. Because we know much more. But we cannot tell the player all. Because a player, in the end, it depends. It's a learning process. But then you have 2, 3 informations, and that's maybe enough. Maybe even already too much. But it's a learning process. So you also need to learn how to use that data as a player and also how to watch the video as a player. So we try to start with that. So then we have meetings, coach, and players. And then you also need to ask the players. So statistically, maybe the one player is better than the other. But it's a player that is easier for you to play. So maybe the one guy is hitting hard every ball and the other guy is shotting, and you have a defender good on hit balls but not so good running down the shots. So although this guy might be a little bit better in percentages, you still might choose to play the other player. So although we might have our perspective, the ideas and preferences of the players are very important. So what I like to use is Iceberg Models. So I have a lot of information. All of this goes to the coach, but the player does not need what's below the surface. Here you get a little bit pictures. That was at in Rio in our apartment. Coach Robert Novotny trying to figure out with Alex Horst how to play the next game. Although I do all these nice graphs and statistics, they still love to draw their own things with only the very most important information that actually want to give to the players. And that's the part of the analysis. Now I promised you to give you a little bit of my of this different perspective. I think now you already got an idea that in scouting, you have to follow the ball because we have to track all the contact of the ball. So this means we always look at the player who has the ball. But you really learn to be very focused for the match and to watch this match. So this is really something I learned a lot, because before as a coach, okay, you watch a little bit, somebody talks to you, you get distracted, you watch a little bit. Once you have done this for some years, you really watch. And also,
3-4 times in a row.
Yeah. Usually I do 8 games a day. After that, it gets a little bit more difficult. And especially like next week, this will be terrible because Vienna is a nice tournament for everyone and also for me. But to scout on center court is not easy. 8,000 people, like a V Vienna. So I put in earplugs. So, and it's also very hot, so it will be tough to concentrate. And I can also see that in the quality of the scouting files that this is lower than normal. But still, you also learn to observe in certain categories. Some things are also very useful to talk. So if I teach my players, for example, also the numbers of the court, I teach my players, because then it's not in the middle of the court, but it's 8A or it's 9D. So you can be very precise about positioning on the court. And this is not only useful for me as a scout, this is also useful for coaches and players. Because then it's, yeah, as I said, it's a different point. If I'm cross court, no. It's a difference between 8D and 5B and 7A. That's all cross court. But it's quite different positions on the court against some attackers. So this is something that I took away and gave me a different perspective than as a coach. But I do know that we also miss a lot of the game if I watch in this way. So things that happen before a contact, if a defender does a fake many times, I do not recognize. Why? Because I'm busy writing down the reception and the attack. Was spike coverage there or not? Don't ask me. Some patterns that are specific, like a nod of an attacker that likes to shot, for example, I might miss that. Or things that go on between players and teams, I also might miss that. But once it's scouted and the video is cut up, I can watch it easily in a couple of minutes. So even if I do miss it, I can still watch afterwards. So it's not so much of a problem. Still, the combination of both I think is ideal. So if I watch the game in this very structured way and the head coach is watching the total impression of the game, then I think we have a perfect combination of information that we can use. Now you might want to ask, how much does that cost? And are there alternatives because it's expensive? So the software is not that expensive. A Data Volley 4 license, you cannot buy them anymore. You have to have a leasing, and it's 800 euros a year. There is a light version with a few things that you can do less from starting at 300 a year. And of course, you need some hardware. You need a computer. It needs to be fast enough to compress the videos, otherwise you will spend weeks with compressing. You need some cameras, tripods, and so on. This might be easier in the future because FIVB is trying to set up cameras and you can download things. But you need something. It's not cheap. But the most expensive part, of course, is traveling costs. Traveling and personal, that's expensive. Depends how cheap you can get a person. There are alternatives, of course. For example, Dartfish is one of the alternatives. There you can create your own categories. It's not a software built for volleyball like Data Volley. This is built for volleyball. It's a free sports software. So you could use it for soccer and say, OK, I like passing, dribbling, shooting. Or you can create something for volleyball. It starts from 40 to 50, 60, 70 euros a month. But again, you need a computer and you need cameras. That part stays the same. Some teams now that I know, they outsourced scouting. There is 2 providers for that right now. One is Volleymetrics. The thing is, they do only 3 stars and up. There's an online interface to watch video and to get statistical reports, similar to the reports you saw. And it starts at around $2,000 a year per team. Downsides, if you're in China and your Wi-Fi is not working, you cannot access the thing because it's not offline. I have a hard drive. This has not. It takes some time because usually somebody does an upload of the video, and then 1 day or 2 after, you can download the analysis. So if you want to have your parallel game of the pool, it's not possible. But of course, you get something. The other guy was here. It's Beach Data. The guy worked here for a couple of days. He does a similar thing, but with fewer details for sure than this. But I don't know a price. But if you're interested, you can for sure contact him. Data Project, the enterprise who are responsible for Data Volley, they have also smaller thing. One is Click and Scout. This works on a tablet. You can do directions. You can do qualities of hitting and of reception. But it's not as detailed. You cannot do right side, left side, and these things. But to get a first idea, especially in underage, it's valuable. And you can also use it, combine it with video software. So you can also cut up the video. But then it's extra. Then it does not start at $50 a year. Then it's a little bit more. Anyway, there are other options. All of them have advantages. For me, to pen and paper. Right now, there is no automatic scouting, which would be perfect to just have a video and then and get all the data in. But I think it's a matter of time until people come up with that. Going into the final minutes, I'd say what to take away. Some key points. I advise you again to label your videos and create a clear data structure. Use VLC player if you don't already. No matter if you scout with paper and pen, do it with a plan. It's OK to do free scouting and just take impressions, but I would really advise you to take notes. I also advise my players to keep a little black book of players where they enter their impressions of their own games and enter some features of a player when they find out, this player did not work well after a short serve, so try this for the next game too. Because coaches and players, we have so many games in a year. My memory is not built for it to keep it all in my mind. That's why I write it down. If yours is built for it, perfect. But for all others, I suggest use a notebook. And even on a low level, I also advise you to think about make use some of a combination of taking data and video, because it makes the video watching process so much easier for you. And although it costs a little bit, I think it's worth it. From the content side, from my side, that's basically it. So you have 20 more minutes or something. If you have any questions or like an open discussion, feel free to ask any questions. I'm here, I'm yours. Use your chance. But if you prefer to go to dinner because I talked already for 1 hour 40, I'm totally fine with it. So tomorrow, 6:30 till 8:30, Menzo will continue and give more information about all the analysis things. things that I did not cover today. I thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy your evening.